please take a few moments and pray in your own way. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we'll move on to the reading and approval of the minutes from the regular session of October 5th. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I abstain, not being present. Next, the final adoption meeting of October 17th. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I abstain.
Moving on to public comments. Seeing none, we'll move on to committee and officer reports. I do not have anything to report. Mr. Vice President.
Go Cubs, Madam President.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. Moving on to highway.
We met today, and I think the items we discussed will be on the agenda tonight.
Finance.
No meeting.
Personnel.
We did meet, and we will discuss those issues later in the agenda.
Thank you. Is there any miscellaneous?
Madam President, I'd like to ask Claire Lane if she's here to come forward, please. While she's coming forward, I'd like to make the announcement that Claire Lane is the Hamilton County Soil and Water Conservation District Urban Conservationist, and she received the Indiana Urban Forest Council's annual award for being the most outstanding individual whose work enhances the environment, health of Indiana cities and towns through urban forestry. And also like to point out my personal observations of Claire is that she probably makes about $4.50 an hour for all the time she spends in with all the people. She's one of the few people that doesn't do hand wringing over global warming and those things. She just goes out and recruits people to be good stewards of our environment. So thank you, Claire, very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
They're going to have a little thing for the council and the commission. I'd ask Claire if she'd mention that.
Yeah, thank you so much. We've actually been honored with a few different awards this fall, which has been really nice for the program in the district. Another thing we have going is we were awarded a District Showcase Award from our Indiana Conservation Partnership. And I hope you guys all got an email from me earlier this week, but part of that honor is a presentation and bus tour of urban conservation practices across Carmel is where we're focusing ours on projects we've been involved with, and that's on November 17th at 9 a.m. We're going to give a short presentation and then take a charter bus tour around to some different sites where you can see some of the different urban conservation practices we've been implementing. And I have some info about it for you guys and anyone that would like to join us, and we'd love to see you there that day.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Claire.
Congratulations.
Just have one little thing I would like to add. Myself, Brad Beaver, and Paul Ayers, we attended an event at the 4-H grounds for the 4-H, the extension office. We had a wagon ride, toured the facility, had a great dinner. I just would like to thank all those for hosting us. It was a very nice evening and a nice event. They do a wonderful job there.
Anything further? Seeing none, we'll move on to unfinished. We don't have any. Moving on to tabled business. I know there were possibly items here that need to be untabled. At least that was my knowledge. I believe letter G, which is regarding Janus and the capital grant. Is there a motion to untable for discussion?
I would make that motion to untable for discussion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And B and G actually go together.
Do you need another motion? You do? I'll make that motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
This is in regards to the grant that we had done the match, the 80-20, and they were awarded the equivalent to 3 buses, I believe, and there is a remaining portion that they'd like to utilize that we allocated for software upgrade, which basically helps with their mapping system, I believe.
Yeah, you have that right. Thank you. We applied for 5 vehicles to receive this year through NDOT with our federal capital grant. The capital grant was for $202,300, and Hamilton County allocated $50,575 as the match. However, NDOT only awarded 3 vehicles to us this year due to the number of applications that they received from around the state. So there is a balance in the Hamilton County funding left over from that for that match. The balance is $19,075. We had the opportunity to upgrade to the GIS version of the software that we use to schedule trips. Currently, we have a software package called Easy Rides. Easy Rides Basic. It's excellent scheduling software, but it does not communicate with a map. And the GIS version would add mapping functionality into it so that it would become a lot more efficient when we schedule trips. Right now, our staff do a lot of switching back and forth with Google Maps, calculating trip times and mileages. So the GIS version would be really helpful for efficiency in our program, and that's why we're making this request.
Motion for
So moved.
Second.
any discussion?
That's for transportation, so I mean, right.
Call for the question?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion.
Thank you.
Have a nice evening.
It's my understanding that the remaining items under tabled business are staying tabled at least until next meeting. Yes.
Items
I would make a motion that C, D, E, and F come off the table.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I'd also make a motion that, I make a motion that we approve 4 of those, 4.
Is there a second?
Second.
No.
Oh, okay, no second.
Second.
I withdraw my second.
Seeing no first and second.
If there's no second, it dies for lack of
I
second.
got you.
Procedural rules.
Okay. Moving on to new business, approval of vendor claims.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next on the agenda, we have Hamilton County Visitor Bureau update for State Road 37, and Karen Radcliffe. Provide some information as well. How are you?
Just fine. How are you?
Great.
Aye.
Hi. Get my report I
Yes,
emailed?
it's in
Okay,
here.
wonderful. So really, I just wanted to make sure that I'm coming to you regularly as you asked, just for some updates as things happened. And one, the marketing oversight the group has gelled, so we do have Troy Woodruff from our QAW, Autumn from City of Fishers, and myself meeting regularly. We do have a number of deliverables that we agreed on, and so we're working toward those as well. I believe last time I came here that we were working on how the bills were going to be paid, and so that has been, I think, worked out by your group as well as the commissioners, and so I would look to see as the plan is being funded and bills are starting to come in, that comes through our QAW. Our QAW then invoices the City of Fishers. The City of Fishers then invoices the county for half. I think that's what's been agreed upon.
I don't think we
Yeah.
discussed that yet.
We seem to be having a heartburn on this particular issue.
Okay.
Your understanding that we are going to supply half of the $500,000 to City of Fishers and our QAW, even though we didn't pick them and were not consulted when it was picked,
When what was picked?
our QAW.
Okay, so our QAW is not executing the marketing functions.
Who is?
That's not been determined yet. So we are going to be looking for an individual or an agency to actually do that. And
Okay, so it won't be them executing that?
That's right.
Okay.
That's exactly right. So, and that's why I'm there, is to make sure that we're going through this list and this procedure prudently, so that we're finding somebody who has the skills to actually pull together a marketing plan and execute it. And that we're also not finding agency that has a high overhead where most of the marketing dollars are actually going to overhead rather than ad buy. We really want the marketing dollars to go to ad buy.
So when the choice is made, there'll be 3 people voting?
Well, I mean, that's what we were looking at. So what's happened is the city of Fishers has let out this RFP, or it's an RF.
No, you're right, it's an RFQ.
Is it
And
a
then
queue?
The responses were due back, or questions rather, was
Yes.
October, right?
Yes.
Right.
So she's had, and I asked her today, she's had 3 agencies actually ask questions, and they have another couple weeks, I guess, to actually formally respond. What we had thought to do was to look through the responses in December, really find out which one maybe that we would recommend, then I would come to you with my recommendation, and I believe that Autumn probably would have the same recommendation. Troy is there not as the expert, just as the, making sure that he's delivering on this for the city of Fishers, but I know he's looking to us for some guidance.
There's a timeline that was provided, so like ultimately you'll award, the discussion will happen in December, you'll award that.
Right.
Right, okay. And then obviously
Yeah.
there's a plan for the next 12 months thereafter, I believe.
Yes. Right. So hopefully we'll have the responses back by the end of the year. We'll look at them. I would think if we have 3 to choose from, we'll likely see one that kind of bubbles up and has the best recommendation. I would see that I would want to interview them to make sure they know what they're talking about and they understand what the really scope of this idea is. If you would like, I can vet those people by you guys.
No,
I can certainly do that.
that's not, I think most of us have faith in what you're doing. I
Okay.
just wanted to know who's making the decision?
It would be Troy, myself, and Autumn.
And they represent,
City of Fishers, RQAW, who owns the contract for the project, and me, Hamilton County Tourism, and I'm the Chief Strategy Officer for marketing for the county.
Aaron, in your letter, which again, I think is very, you say December is the interview and award the marketing coordination
Yep.
addressed to us and the commissioners. I was thinking that the commissioners would either have the final say on it.
Okay.
Are you going to, have you presented the same thing to them as well, or no?
Yeah.
Okay. So how did that work out? I mean,
They were very supportive in the direction that we were going, and I think they had a lot of confidence in myself as well as my experience in doing marketing for the county for 20 years.
oh, absolutely. We
And,
have absolute full confidence in you too.
Okay, and then just the flow of communication, honestly. If I'm here just to make sure that you guys are comfortable and know what's going on, and same thing with the commissioners, making sure
So,
they know what's
again,
going on as well.
The 3 of you will make it, and the commissioners are okay with that? We're okay? Okay.
Hey, Karen, I will say that I would like the council, the full county council, to be updated on what's going on with community meetings, meetings with business owners. I know that none of us got the emails that for the past 2 meetings, at least I didn't. But anyway, I talked to Brad Davis, he didn't get them either. So, I mean, maybe we can make sure that we're all at. I sent an email to Troy and copied the commissioners in on it today, just to make sure that happens. But we want to be kind of just
Okay.
email updated to the council for that kind of stuff.
Okay, so I asked Troy to add all of you guys to those email updates as well as the county commissioners. I know he said the county commissioners, everybody was on there. I think he just had Amy. But then I've asked that everybody be.
You just had her on it? Okay.
I think so. I think it was just Amy. But I've asked him to add everybody else now so that they could, but here's what I did. I gave them your Hamilton County Gov email address,
Which I
and that
wonder
may
if that's
not,
a
is that,
calendar. It
that
could
may not be right.
It comes in as calendar invites.
Yeah,
So
I haven't received them.
then that may be,
And that's fine, just as long as,
Should I give them a different address?
No, that's
an
fine.
Email address? Okay.
That'll work.
I'll use a different address.
Yeah,
You can
okay.
call or we can-
Does Brenda have that?
She does.
Okay.
And if she doesn't, she can call.
Because I can definitely make sure the right address is there so you can get, well, there is a January business update meeting scheduled. I don't have the date on that yet.
Is
Well,
that-
you
I
can
know it's
send us an
okay.
email.
Oh, right?
There you go, yeah.
Are there any other questions for Karen?
At this time.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Moving on, Resolution 11-02-16-01. It's concerning the purchase of real estate for a small structure, number 33008.
So moved.
Today, this is the normal
Yeah.
purchase of real estate over $25,000 for a project.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Letter D, Superior Court 3, request to contract court reporter versus new full-time court reporter. Judge Hughes or Ollie. Hello, Ollie, how are you?
Good.
Thank you.
Just Ducky.
I sent you all a memo on this. I don't know if you had a chance to read it or not. But very simply, Judge Hughes has found himself in kind of a trick recently. M&M Reporting, who for 5+ years has been doing court reporting in that courtroom on a contract basis, indicated they were not going to renew their contract the first of the year. And so what Judge Hughes is trying to do, he's already put out a notice that there's a contract available, so that the contract's been advertised, but he doesn't know if he's going to get anyone interested in that contract, and if he gets anyone interested, he doesn't know that they will necessarily be the people he would want doing that job. So what he's asking to do, since he doesn't have a lot of time before the first of the year, is to also have Human Resources advertise the position, which is a full-time position. The job description hasn't changed, and HR and the auditor have indicated that they can't do that because there's not a funded line item. And so we're kind of in a catch-22 here. Obviously, what Judge Hughes would like to do is advertise that position, and so if he finds a person who's applied for the full-time position and they're a better fit for the job than someone who wants to do it on a contract, he would hire the full-time person. And we wouldn't be asking for any more money. He's already got $60-some thousand in the 2017 budget for the contract, and so the remainder of that we would cover out of the personal services line items that we already have. We just move some money around. So all I'm really asking for, all Judge Hughes is asking for, is that HR be told it's okay to go ahead and advertise that position.
Ollie, don't most courts have a full-time?
They all do except for Superior 3, and
So this theoretically it is not going to cost the county any more funds.
No.
Is that what you're saying?
no, we will not be asking for more money if this turns out to be a full-time position.
Ultimately, just allowing.
Yeah. And there's also not paying a contractor, he's paying, yeah.
Bureaucrats are happy.
Right.
That would include you, wouldn't it, Jim?
I'm a small bureaucrat. That's hilarious.
Is there a motion?
So move.
Second, anybody?
Second.
All those in favor?
All those in favor?
What is the motion for?
To allow them to
Add the line item.
produce a line item so that he can
For the
advertise
person?
for court report.
So we're going to add a full-time employee. Okay. I just want to clarify.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, and I
Thank
would
you.
just also like to echo Go Cubs.
I don't know.
Go Cubs.
Yeah, there you go.
Moving on, the old and new juvenile detention center renovations funding resolution request of $660,168.
So moved.
Second.
On this particular thing, I talked to Robin and Don a little bit the other day, and I'm generally in favor of this, funding this amount. And I talked to Robin, and what I'd like to do is take the maximum amount that we can for this $660,000 out of CCD. And Robin has did some calculations, and And so what I would ask the council to let her do the calculation, take the maximum of the 660 from CCD that she's legally allowed, and she's got some shorthand she was doing. Most of it can come out of there, and leave it to her discretion to take everything that's possible of the 660 from CCD. And we've checked, and there is money available in that account. It's not called for.
Do we have to wait any more time, or is it advertised? I'm fine with that. Steve, is that going to slow you down at all?
Yeah, actually, it'll slow me down on the project and starting them. But it'll be December to be the funds, right? Okay. That'd be fine. I can start my process. If the commitment's there for the money, I can start my process because I've got a lot of quotes and bids and to go.
No,
I do have a question.
It was already
Yes, sir.
made and seconded. I just threw that in.
Okay, hey, Steve, Mr. Slaughterback's under the impression that the completion target date of February, is that your impression as well?
A majority of my stuff will be completed by that time. There's certain functions that don't have to be done until a date later, like May, because it's going to be timing and working and everything. The concern I have is I want to have certain parts of the project that will, may halt people coming in. We'll have everything up so they can have full operations of it. Will just be times that we've done in past and projects where we say, you're going to be down for this amount of time. You can still hold things, but it may be a little bit warm and maybe a little bit cool. But we'll make sure the temperatures are right when we're doing those parts of those projects.
Okay.
But the water, the hot water and the controls have to be done first, so I've got to get started on that.
Steve, I'm very impressed with the detailed report.
So am I.
54 pages. Really? Great job.
Yeah, I like it.
Is there any other discussion or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to the old and new juvenile renovation with Mark Bowen and Jason Slaughterback.
This is the same thing we had, right?
It's revised.
Revised.
Mark?
As you know, we've been discussing the overcrowding issue in the jail for quite some time. This issue has resulted in, has been as a result of some changes in legislation. House Bill 1006 brings sentenced felons back to the local community as opposed to going to the Department of Corrections. We are currently today sitting on 398 inmates in the jail, which has a bed rated capacity of 296. When we spoke during budget hearings, you asked me to come back with a transition plan and a plan to fully utilize the facilities and the staff to address this problem, which I did. And the plan moving forward was to utilize the Juvenile Services Center to house adult inmates to assist in relieving that overcrowding problem. So the document that you have and that's been presented to you tonight is an update to that, which lays out that transition plan. A big part of that you just approved through Steve Wood's request for the $660,000 to make modifications to the old juvenile center, which has been really left untouched since 2007 when we vacated that for the new juvenile center. So work needs to be done to make sure that these buildings are adequately functional for the foreseeable future to move forward with this plan. We would certainly ask that the board consider approving the plan. We did meet with the commissioners on Monday to discuss it and have had their blessing moving forward. Obviously, as a result of this, our long-range goal is to build a pod onto the jail. And my request, and in support of that from our committee, the architects that worked on the project, and also the commissioners, would be to move forward with a 240-bed pod on the facility for our long-range planning as we growth in the community and the changes in the legislation. In addition to that, obviously, staff and so forth will be necessary, but that's obviously down the road in the future once the pod is completed. So tonight, we're requesting the additional appropriation for the jail staff to and the prisoners at the Juvenile Services Center, a resolution to move forward with the plan as presented by the board, approved by the Board of Commissioners, review and approve an MOU that we've looking to enter with Elkhart County to house prisoners for the short term while we make some of these renovations to make the buildings ready, and a decision to move forward with the renovation funding either through general fund dollars or rainy day dollars, and then to adjust the appropriations to purchase uniforms and equipment that'll be necessary as well. So that's what we have before you, and certainly if you'd like to hear from any other of the experts or stakeholders, they're here and available tonight to answer.
How many, the current pod that the females are in, how many beds are in that?
Currently, there are 76 beds, and we would intend to double bunk those beds to give us 120 beds availability.
No, I mean where they're at now, not where you're moving them, because you're going to move other inmates, right, into that female pod once you move those females over into the juvenile center, right?
Correct.
Okay, how many beds are in those pods typically, those where they're at now?
44.
That's not going to, okay. 44, and that's with the double bunk or whatever?
No, the female prisoners will go over into the Juvenile Services Center, which is a current bed capacity of 76. Once we double bunk that building, we'll have 120 beds available for females, and currently we're averaging about 80 female prisoners on our average daily population.
I'm just trying to get a picture how you're going to use space over there, because I mean, being overpopulated, this is going to alleviate a little bit, but sounds like you're over 100. It's not going to fully.
No, it will alleviate it a bit, but we'll still be overcrowded at the end of the day, even maximizing the.
Okay, thank you.
We're at a crunch here.
Okay, so we've already approved the 660 for cab. What is the dollar ask on your part? Is it just for personnel?
It is for personnel.
6 pages in, Brad.
It's for personnel and uniforms and equipment for said personnel. Additional dollars over and above the 660, which is primarily for mechanical issues, but for some other, the bunks and other cosmetic issues that need to be addressed. Total dollar amount.
$1,172,000.
No.
Page.
Last page.
Well, it's on that page too. It's at the very bottom.
Mark, is this just information? I mean, you're not asking us to approve this now, are you?
Yes, we are. Yeah.
Have that?
Approve this transition plan so that we can move forward project.
What's the staffing level, annual staffing number? What page is that on?
It's on this one.
Sheriff Bowen, how much time does it take to train somebody to be a turnkey from the time you hire them? So that they can function on their own?
It takes about 3 months to get those folks trained to where they can be on their own. We do have a pool of part-time staff members that we can bring on in a full-time capacity that are already basically up to speed, so that will help. But we'll still have to hire and train additional employees from start to finish.
While they're doing that, my only question is, a 30% cost overrun. I always thought it was like 10%.
And that was the ballpark figure that we used, just to make sure that we were.
And I'm going to refer to you.
We're missing anything, and these are high estimates. Obviously, we expect to come in much lower than that.
I know they're not numbered, but if you look at the cost estimate for phase 1, Robin's going to run down some more places to take this, if you're in favor of it, where we can take individual items and. Ready?
Council, we looked at this earlier. It looks like we can take almost 900,000 out of the CCD fund. Then, so if you start at that property sealer, and anything above that, you have another $477,000 that you would need. Then you have the 101,250 for the MOU that you could take out of county general, and then the fiscal impact for the employees, the 124, and then the uniforms and radios amounts. Those could come out of COIT.
Are you suggesting rainy day?
That would be whatever your pleasure is.
I mean, do we have a separate COIT, or are we calling our COIT money that's not commingled rainy day? Okay. Then,
Now it's LOIT instead of COIT.
yeah,
Right.
LIT, L-I-T.
Yeah,
Local income
lit.
tax. That's what
Yeah.
it's going to be called next year. So my
what we paid them
suggestion is when we get ready to vote, if it's in the affirmative, that we follow Robin's guidelines. If we approve these funds as to where, the total amount, where to snag them for best
So
financial
looking
flow.
at number 1 under letter F, which is requesting the renovation funding, county general rainy day. So I assume that we would need to break things down as you kind of.
Is that required, Robin, or the total amount is 3,000,003, right?
Right.
So if we approve the 3,000,003 and then send it back to the auditor to break it down, what would it come?
We could get that out to you
Would it,
tomorrow or Friday, so you know what the numbers are. from
would
those
that come
funds.
back for final approval in December? If that's acceptable to you guys?
CCD you're talking about is for the building and the
Everything, yeah,
Improvements.
everything except.
Right.
Yeah,
and the salaries should just come out of where we're paying the other salaries.
right. COIT. Yeah.
Funding, requesting renovation funding.
Advertise, right?
Will be
So
then for
it's just a
December.
resolution tonight.
While we're in discussion phase, commissioners are on board with this plan?
So F would include 1, 2, 3, and 4. Is that what we're looking at?
I think we're looking to make a resolution for the,
He's asking though if that F include 1, 2, 3,
Yeah,
and 4 is
it does.
that full 3.
The whole load.
Do we have a motion?
so move.
Second.
Any other discussion?
The discussion where the resolution is to approve the 3.3 million as requested, and the auditor will determine the funds and then give it to us in December.
The resolution is so,
This is the resolution.
yeah, this is the resolution so they can move forward.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Is that what you guys need to get this thing?
Odd, and I think
I would say to you, and I'm in support of the pod, at the time that you come to ask for the money, we'll want a fairly detailed explanation of what we're going to buy with that money. No.
I'd like to see it as soon as possible, obviously. Before a meeting. We have,
The total project, it
the
is.
total project-
On the back side, just on the last page,
I
it
know,
does show
but
the $19
of the-
million.
Of the pod,
So it's an additional 16.6. as it shows in phase 2, which is the 240 beds and talks about then the corrections dining hall, all of that information. There's obviously unknown costs here.
How come they don't lay out both of them? I mean, you know, the 120 and the 240, you're just laying out the 240 on this?
Recommendation of the committee, that's a recommendation of the experts, that's my recommendation.
I mean, you're almost to have what you want with moving this stuff around. You're going to be 100 beds over what you need with this phase 2, right? Technically, or at least 120 over. After everything's said and done, you're going to have 120 empty beds over there. Because you're taking 44 in that female pod, moving the females over there, so that alleviates a lot of what the overcrowding is. 240 new beds instead of 120. You should be at least 120 over what you need in what the math looks like, and we don't even know what the sentencing guidelines, how that's going to affect all this over the next couple of years.
Keep in mind that capacity for bed space is really 80%, because once you get to 80%, you start running out of options for classifying people and for moving folks around within the building. So that cuts into that number significantly. We're still 20 to 30 over even with this process. So you start now talking about 60 or 70 beds to last for the foreseeable future. We're looking at a 20-year master plan here. We're talking about growth in the community. We're talking about
20 years, 20-year plan. I'm just.
We're looking at it from a long-range strategic plan.
I'm with you on building new ones. I'm just a little skeptical of a full 240, considering you're going from where you're at now to 360 with what we're doing over here. I mean, just like that. And the crowd, your overcrowding is like you're talking about 100 inmates, and we're going from that to 360 new beds. I mean, so, you know, and everything I've seen, we're being encouraged to not put these people away, not lock them up now. That's the new thing. So I'm just, that's the only part that makes me a little skeptical is all. I'm not saying, I mean, you know, we'll see how it goes when it comes up, but 360 new beds is what that'll equal over a course, you know, compared to what you have now. Right?
In theory, yes. We'll be at 100, with 120 beds, again, though, we'll only be maximizing approximately 96 of those. We'll already be over capacity by at least 30 today. By the time the pod's built in 2 years from now, we anticipate additional growth in that facility, so.
That's a lot of growth over 2 years, right?
We build it out, and we're already at maximum capacity, and then we're talking about potentially adding on again. So I think it's important that we take that into consideration.
Yeah,
we're thinking about spending those dollars. We maximize our efficiencies, and we make sure that we have the space that we need for the future. So.
But you're anticipating a lot of inmate growth, a lot of locking them up growth over the next 2 years. I mean, to be able to use 360 beds 2 years from now. That's just what I'm thinking, or at least what you're telling me.
I don't intend to fill it up 2 years from now. No, that's not the intent, but I intend to have the bed space available for us to grow into it.
I'm like Fred, I'm not opposed to this, but I mean, I see where he's going with it. I mean, we have all these programs coming to us that say we're not going to be sending anybody to jail. You know, the bonding out things changed. YAPA, Ollie's program. All these programs are coming to us that we're going to have less and less prisoners, but we're going to build more and more housing. I'm not saying that there isn't the issue there, but what I meant was I don't think I've seen that where it was in. You know, the hard facts, maybe I missed it in that other, when we had the other meeting, the hard facts on how they get to this based on the present crime versus all these programs that are supposed to be offsetting locking people up.
Exactly.
And I don't disagree, but I think if you look at it from being proactive versus reactive, you know, we don't necessarily know. We have absolutely no idea. And if we're looking at doing the 120, why wouldn't you go ahead if you were going to shell out the other 120? Why not just go ahead and get done?
I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying
right.
I support what Fred says. We're kind of operating in the blind a little bit. Yeah, Commissioner, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was probably one of the most skeptical commissioners at the meeting for the 240 bed pod. okay? Because that one option I saw you talk about at your meeting was 120 versus 240, okay? When everyone went through the information, and what I think would be prudent to do is for you to consider it for appropriation in December, so they can start design. But putting, double bunking juvenile will bring us up to 416 in capacity, hopefully by February, March. When we met with the sheriff, we were at 204 people in the jail. Or, excuse me, 404 people in the jail. So even doing what we're doing transition-wise only pulls us to where we are now. Really what sealed the deal for me in trying to decide whether it was 120 or 240 on the expansion was the fact that the operation of the jail personnel-wise is almost identical with either 120 or 240 the way it's designed. So there's not a personnel issue that we're looking at down the road over and above because we have more capacity in the jail.
You're asking for the same amount of staff, whether they build 120 or 240?
That is what the experts have told us, okay? So I can only rely, I don't know, I don't jail people, I leave it up to these guys and the experts.
You know, one thing that concerns me, Christine, when we first, and I've been in support of building another pod for several months, but you know, when we first started talking, it was 10 or 12. Now we're at 16.
I'm sorry. Cost-wise?
No,
the cost of the phase 2.
Yeah, it went way up. That was one question I had.
Look at that. The commissioners at their meeting on Monday had the sheriff include the expense for personnel.
Well, then you'll need to break that down because I want to know what the building cost is.
You can add these, I mean, it talks about the new inmate housing.
Well, I'm just saying if I'm going to appropriate $11 million, I'm going to need a little bit more than one line.
Yeah, I agree.
Christine, I appreciate your input, and for the rest of the council, this is my take, is that we are putting so much money into this. It is just really mind-boggling, because with the $750,000 we allocated earlier this year, just with in this project, we're up to almost $3.5 million more, just in personnel for jailers, and that's money that's not going for roads, it's not going for anything else, and that doesn't even include, you know, if we bond for this versus, you know, taking it out of the cash we have. I'm concerned about looking at construction soft costs, which is $3.5 million, of $11 million. I mean, that seems to me I'm also with Fred and Paul. I'm not convinced that we've got a huge crime-ridden population. I mean, it makes me feel like we're in Chicago, that we're having to spend this kind of money.
Well, my only question is just doing the math. So if there were 404 prisoners, whether that's male or female, we have the capacity for 296 currently, is that right? And there's 80 females, if we're using those numbers. So that would leave you, if you move those 80 females out, right? So you've got 108 basically over capacity. You take those 80 females out, that leaves you with an overcrowding currently of 28. So if you subtract that then from that 240, that means we have 212 open beds, if it were today. I mean, is that right?
If we had the pod ready today.
If it was ready today. I'm just trying to make sure that that's a large number. I mean, if I'm just looking at it from figures.
Keep in mind our average daily population last year was 303, and as of yesterday, our average daily population for this year was 397.
So if we're looking at maybe even a 25%, well, I guess it would be more roughly 25 to 27% increase year to year. If we were staying on that trend, we still then would be looking at over 100 beds that would be empty, even if we looked at it at that percentage.
But our biggest thing that we don't want to do, we don't want to come back to you in 5 years and ask you to build another pod.
Right.
We're concerned about the footprint. That was another piece that we looked at when we did the campus study. We're concerned 50 years or more down the road, what's the footprint of all of the public safety facilities going to take to build a 120-bed pod? It makes more sense for 50% more space. You get double the beds, and it's only $2 $2 million more. If you shell it out like you were talking about, you're going to spend $5 million later.
Yeah, and I
with
can
those
get into
same
that.
beds in.
I could see that part of it, but we're going to have a lot of empty beds, it seems like, and all the way up until now, you know, I mean, I could agree we remodel, move stuff around, but now we're going to this pod, and all the way up until, since I've been on this council, we've been told that the whole thing that we're going to be doing is reversing the trend of locking people up, and, you know what I mean, we're going to change that, and the prosecutor's telling me that there's going to be less. I get you guys are looking at the numbers, I understand that, but, you know, and now all of a sudden we have this right here, you know, so.
The percentage of sentenced inmates continues to increase, and they're there for up to a year, so they're occupying that bed for a longer period of time, which again takes away from our available bed space. So that trend continues and will continue as far as we can tell. Again, growth in the population and things of that nature are going to continue to dictate what we do, and the jail population will increase along with it, as has historically been the case over the last 25 years when the original jail was built. So population's doubled in size, the jail's doubled in size.
What do you think it has to necessarily go that way? And
Doing everything we can to mitigate it,
But I mean,
Rick,
a couple of years
certainly-
ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, we had the issue where we didn't have money. We had this issue, and there was a lot of brainstorming with the prosecutor, the courts, you guys, and maybe we either go back there and say, we don't have the money, you know, pretend we don't have the money, we don't have the surplus we have. What do? Because I'm afraid that, again, what the road we're going down is another tax increase, because the city of Westfield has already put out a resolution that they want to increase the public safety tax, which is 0.25%, and I'm just wondering, you know, if we spend ourselves in that situation, that we're going to be in a corner and are going to have to go along with that or
But
implement that.
we need to point out that the judges and the Supreme Court are working as hard as they can with evidence-based decision-making to try to drive down incarcerated people during the process. However, you need to add on to that what state legislature has done to us with House Bill 1006. And I think we need to all be realistic. As our demographics change, so will our need for public safety needs and our jail space. We are the recipient of these folks. We cannot make the decision of whether they come through our doors or not. We have to open the doors based upon what Supreme Court says, based upon what the prosecutor does, based upon what the cops on the street do in terms of arresting people. So we don't have a say at the county level or the sheriff's level what our population will be, unfortunately. We just have to accept who comes through the doors. And right now, when I heard what the population was on Halloween at 404 versus a capacity of 296, I said, where are they? Are you putting them in a closet? And basically, we are. We're putting them on the floor, and that is a dangerous situation, I think, not only for the inmates, but also for the staff that has to make sure that that jail is run properly.
That's why we added extra staff, 750,000 earlier this year.
Correct, but
We haven't hesitated. Christine, I just want to say, this council has been proactive, we have been generous. I don't think we've turned down a request. I'm just saying, this is going a huge step, you know?
Yeah.
And we just need to maybe reconsider it. You know, you guys are hearing all the building plans, and I know it's a huge industry, you know? DLZ, RQAW, whoever, these guys are in the business to sell prisons and you know, that sort of thing. So it's in their best interest to sell the best and sell the most.
Well, and again, I look at hard numbers and know that once we have gone through this change and have double bunked and moved the juveniles over, and we only have a limited capacity where they're going.
We're still overcrowded.
And we're still overcrowded. In knowing, the other thing that influenced me, quite honestly, is knowing that you have 400 beds or you have 416 beds, available beds and capacity are a different thing because of how we are mandated by state and federal law to classify prisoners and separate prisoners. So you can just reduce that by, what is it, 20%?
20%.
Now,
transgender population and other populations that we have to account for certainly require certain space and things of that nature, so.
I, as one counselor, I hear what you're saying. I don't disagree with you. $16 million is a big chunk. I'm not going to guarantee you're going to get approval for $16 million in December. Okay, bring what you want to. That is a bunch of money, and that's a bunch of money that won't go for highways, won't go for parks. I realize that jail is a county responsibility, and no other cities or towns will be sending us any additional money for the additional prisoners they bring us. So it is a county responsibility, and we take that seriously, but that's a big chunk of change.
Yeah, I mean, just to jump into it too, and we're already rearranging this, I mean, I would think that even the commissioners, we could come to an agreement that you could at least wait till this thing's remodeled and everybody's moved over before we jump into $16 million.
Well,
you know what I mean, to see how that goes.
Yeah, just present
My only
it.
statement to that is, we're still overcrowded after we make all these transitions, and we're 2 years out from the completion of a pod. So please, keep that in mind. We are at a crunch here, so it's time to make a decision on what we do with our public safety needs and the criminal population for the foreseeable future.
But what's the bail? What happened with the bail change? Did that decrease? How many you had in there? They just did that, right? It was, you can't put bail on certain offenders now and.
There's work being done with regard to bail. The Indiana Supreme Court said that bail was unconstitutional and to do away with it, but we're already embarking on a plan through evidence-based decision-making to make decisions on keeping or releasing prisoners based on their status and threat to the community and a whole plethora of issues before we release them. But even at that, so we've seen a slight reduction in our pre-trial inmates, but we're seeing a significant increase in our post-conviction inmates through House Bill 1006.
I have
That's the state.
one thing. How do we get, between now and December, when you come in and say take it or leave it, how do we get this thing, take it or leave the 16 million? How do we, between now and then, get this thing rectified? Because we can talk about this for another 10 minutes, or we talk about it all night, but we're kind of, how do we get this
It's going to take a little
thing?
bit of time for me to meet with each of you individually to try to help you understand where we are and where we need to go. So I'm more than willing to do that between now and the December meeting, and I'll look forward to that opportunity, so.
Okay.
You know, I live by the theory, build it and they will come. Unfortunately, that's the way it usually works out, especially in jails. But one thing that I have a question that we've not talked about, and it's somewhat of a sore subject if we look back at the juvenile detention center, but the Marion County jails are completely overcrowded, the way I understand it. So they send people to other jails and pay a pretty good price. Have we done any marketing, or do?
We don't have the space currently, but that would be a plan for us to do moving forward. If we have open bed space, would be able to bring prisoners in from other counties and house them. There's also an opportunity to hold federal inmates. So there is opportunity to see a bit of a return on our investment by utilizing those beds for out-of-county prisoners. I know that's a sore subject for you with regard to the juvenile detention facility, but it's clearly a reality when it comes to the adult inmate population.
Right, well, you know, I'm looking out for the next 20 years like we've been talking about, and our population's going to double. We'll be 700,000 plus here. I just want to make sure we build for the future.
That's what I'm looking at as well. So.
Amy?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm used to dealing with people that are having trouble coming to grips with their mortality, and this council reminds me of that a little bit. When I was I just thought I'd make that point.
Okay.
When I was a kid, it was Fisher Station. It was a whistle stop on a nickel plate. It's not anymore. And anybody that thinks it's not going to grow, it's got their head in the sand. Now, you can song and dance all you want, not sending people to jail and giving them early release, but the hardened criminal is going to jail because I think everybody wants him there. You want him there, I want him there. And so armed robbery is not going to walk out of the place. You need these facilities. I'm sorry, it costs like hell to build a detention facility, but it does. If you wait to do it, it will cost you more money in 2 years, 5 years, or whatever it is. I'm sorry, I think that's just the way it is. We are one of the biggest counties in this state, and we're still growing and will grow, and I don't think we have any choice but to do this.
And to your point, Doc, per capita, we're the smallest jail in the state, per capita, so.
Is there any other discussion at this point? Okay. We'll see you back in December.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you, Sheriff. Thanks.
On to County General Fund probation. It's to amend the 144. It's a higher above minimum. It was given a favorable recommendation from personnel. This is for 2017.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
1121 COIT Distributive Shares Fund. Number 1 is Judicial Services. It's a transfer of funds.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Number 2, EMA transfer of funds.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Prosecutor transfer of funds.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Go Cubs. Probation, 2016, amend the 144. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And then probation transfer of funds.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Highway transfer of funds for 117,000 for the construction inspection for 136. Oh,
It's what, oh, it is? Okay.
okay. Hold that one. So we'll move on to 1175 misdemeanor fund, transfer of funds. It's an increase in overtime as a result of full-time positions being vacant. It's a total of $2,400.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
1176 Highway Fund, number 1 is 2016 amend the 144. It's a reclassification change, title change, and it was given favorable recommendation by personnel.
Does this take additional money? No?
Yes, one does. That's that's number 2. So this, on the first one, there is none. No.
And did they have that money inside their budget?
We're not on number 2 yet. Is that what you're referring to?
One is,
I'm on number 1, so it's just a reclassification and a title change on number 1, which is the amend the 144. There's no change in dollars. Correct.
correct.
So are you wanting to do them, I was doing them separate, but if you'd like to do them together, we can.
No, that's fine. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so then 2017 amend the 144. This is a salary change. It was given favorable recommendation from personnel.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Brad, you got money inside your thing to handle this?
Is there a second?
Second.
There was a second.
I didn't hear you second.
Yeah.
Did you second?
Second, okay.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And finally, the transfer of funds for the highway fund.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
1222 statewide E911 fund. First one is a 2016 amend the 144. This change is due to promotions. It was given a favorable recommendation by personnel.
Is this number 1?
This is number 1, yes.
That need extra money? Do you need money for this? So moved.
I have a second question.
Sure.
We have 2 pages. Oh, one is for this year and then one's for next year.
Yes, sir.
I got a motion on 1.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to the 2017, amend the 144, again, the same.
Same thing? So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
1229 Lit Fund, transfer of funds.
So moved.
Second.
Now, that's the title of our.
That's the new title.
Lit, right
Yeah,
there. That's new
lit,
code.
right.
Local income tax.
Discussion?
Dig it.
Because this still has Lowit, that's why it's confusing.
Yeah.
We still have Lowit, don't we?
No.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
2500.2504 Alcohol and Drug Services Fund, transfer of funds.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
9105 1617 Community Corrections Grant, transfer of funds.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes, sir.
Before we go into the next one, back on F, did we need to do any of those for the new hires?
They, as far as they combined them. I believe Brad made the motion to combine all 4 of those, right? And then everything else will come back in December,
Right.
right?
That's the way we voted on it, I
Yes.
think.
That was my, that was my intent.
Combined all 4 of those in his motion.
Okay.
Did you want to go back and
No,
revisit?
no, I just,
Okay. Yeah, no problem. At this time, I'll open the public hearing concerning additional appropriations. County General Fund, amount requesting $345,080. There's 2 under the Commissioners. So you'll see one that is for the new hires for the benefits for the jail renovations as just presented. And then as well, the $300,000 under professional
Okay.
services for the Blackhawk Commons project.
Okay, so they just combined the two.
Correct.
So moved.
Yeah, seconded.
Is there any discussion?
is anybody here to talk about the Black Hawk?
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Miller. I'm with HAND. We're available to answer any questions that you might have regarding the project, but based on how you were moving through the agenda, would you like to hear a full presentation from us, or?
I don't need that.
I don't think so.
What's that? I'm sorry.
So, do you have a question, Rick?
Yeah, he does.
Oh, okay.
300,000 that you're asking for county general funds, first time that we give something like this. Will you want the money regardless if you do the other project? Or is it contingent on getting the award from the state for the tax credits?
It would be contingent upon the award from the state.
So if you fail to score, then you wouldn't get the 300,000.
Correct. It would be similar to how things were handled last year in that regard.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
1121
didn't
Co-ed
get to burn
Distributive
it
Shares
down.
Fund. There are specific requesting $305,364 renovation, as well as then
All here for
a
that.
$90,000 for additional appropriations to cover operating budget for 2016, which includes overtime and part-time corrections officers, and then machinery and equipment.
So moved.
So moved.
So he moved, you second.
I second.
Is there discussion?
The overtime, how do you, I'm just curious, how do you figure $50,000 worth of overtime? I'm just curious how you kind of eyeballed that in.
Based on our, what our trends have been over the course of the year and knowing what we have coming up with time off and things of that nature scheduled. So a lot of that money is being backfilled. Our operation pullover, the BMW Championship, we received some funds from that for the overtime that we encumbered from that, which those dollars went into the general fund. So a lot of it's already accounted for through money that's been deposited back in the general fund.
Thanks, Sheriff.
Any other? All those in favor?
Aye.
On 1219 Parks and Recreation Fund, requesting $15,000. There are 2 sheets. $10,000 is for older facilities need more repairs, and $5,000 is a need for replacement machinery and tools. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
1229 Lit Fund requesting a reduction of 1.25 million. It's to deobligate the fund for the projects that were rejected.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
4598 T29403. It's the 96th US 421 TIF fund requesting 4.5 million. It's the additional funding to the remaining of the right-of-way, the utility relocation, etc.
So moved.
Second. This is a big thing we talked about today at Highway. This is the next phase of 146th Street West from ditch to town. The question that I guess I have for the auditor is, do you know if the TIF has that much money in it? And they hope to have a letting in December, and we'll start construction.
How far will this go, Rick?
From ditch to
County.
town.
Go to town road.
Straight across virgin farmland, so it should go quickly. They're also going to repave, I think, the old 146 that will be set up as like the frontage road on the south end. That's also included in it.
Okay. Now, town is the township line, right?
Township.
Yeah.
Right.
That's not the county line.
Any other discussion?
And the next phase then would go from town to Shelbourne, and then Shelbourne to the county line. We have about
Gotta get on the other side
6.2
of
million in
Shelbourne.
federal funds.
Get out of the county.
Get out of the county.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
4918 Youth Assistance Program Fund, requesting $3,884. This is for the part-time youth assistance early intervention in Westfield. It's my understanding that this money then would be paid back from Westfield. Is that correct?
So moved.
Second.
We already received this money?
That was a question the auditor's going to tell us.
You have not, but they
Yeah.
When Brian Zager was here last month, he assured us that the money would be coming in, right? I mean, he was here last month, and that's what he said. They would give us a check. So that's all I was asking is,
So, we're sending it out and hoping it'll come back.
well, or do we want to approve it contingent on them getting the check in the next 30 days? Or
Well, for the $3,800,
Yeah, no.
I mean, it's,
I thought the money come in and then we dispersed it, but,
They knew the amount, right?
They've got
Right.
cash in that fund, so I'm.
Oh,
sure
okay,
they
there is-
Utilize money from someone else.
okay, there is money in this fund?
Yes.
Okay, this is not general fund, this is a special fund.
It's out of the fund.
So they're just appropriating.
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, I did.
Can we make it contingent upon them giving us the money within the next 30 days?
But
that's okay, but if they don't, I mean, here's the thing, is $3,800, I think there was I think there was a trust level. I don't need the 30-day guarantee myself. I don't,
And now
I
we're
do,
quibbling over
because there's been a
3,800.
precedent where Westfield has been a slow pay or no pay, and the first example is the Hamilton County Economic Development Corporation. Last year, they didn't pay, and yet they continued to, receive benefits. So they've had problems with the highway department and salt in the past, so I think we need to.
But these aren't funds that you're expending. Right. This fund is monies that they've received from other schools. So if Westfield doesn't pay, then it's the money that they've received from everybody else that's gonna be shorted. And Tricia's not gonna let that happen.
Right, well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that
It's their own.
somebody else is going to have to make it happen.
I understand what you're saying, but this is not the county general fund, so if they short YAP, the other YAP members are gonna have to collect.
Right.
I agree.
There you go.
So as the motion stands, it's just for the approval. It does not have that 30-day contingency.
Right.
that's my motion, yeah.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
8106, 93.074, 2016 Special Project Vector Control Grant Fund, requesting $25,001.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
This time I will close the public hearing. Announcements. Sheriff.
Don't forget my honeyberry.
Just want to report that the staff's been doing an excellent job here of dealing with early voting. It's been a tremendous outpouring of folks coming through to do that, so just want to thank the staff for their help with that, facilitating it. Halloween went well. We had one major incident, a report of a young lady who had a razor blade or some sharp object found in a piece of candy that we're currently investigating, so you may see that in the media tonight. So other than that, I have nothing to report. In Home Place, Orchard Park area.
Wow. It's a wonderful place.
Council Attorney.
Nothing, thank you.
Madam Auditor.
I have a couple of items I'm passing out. Today, in preparation of printing employee change forms for pay increases for 17, I did some proofing, and while there's no money involved, these are actually reductions in salaries. Their salaries were too high on what was adopted at budget time, so would request that you approve us making these adjustments to get the salaries in line with the budget that was approved.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I got one more thing before we close.
1-0.
I know,
Oh, I'm sorry.
they did hit a home run, I saw that. Yeah, they did. Sheriff, can you tell us what you were just recognized for? I know you're a humble guy, but, I was told that you just won some type of award. There was some type of Sheriff Association thing that you received?
I've been elected to serve as the president of the association next year, so that's a additional role I'll be taking on for
That's a
Sheriff
big honor,
Association.
right?
It is, yes. Thank you for mentioning it. I appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So, very nice.
And Steve has.
I have one item, our December personnel meeting. Where are we in the rotation?
I just did one.
I would say it's, I was last one up, wasn't I?
I would assume, but
Sharina,
I
sorry,
think
she's
it's
got her
Beaver.
hand. It's not
Isn't it?
What day is it?
December. There's none.
no meeting.
That solves that.
It's my month then.
November,
Okay, so
December?
all of you are off the hook for
Wow.
the remaining of personnel.
But,
That's so
yeah, that's
sad.
right. Then we go,
We have a good time.
oh, it was nonstop fun for me.
At this point, we are adjourned.
Oh, that's great.
Here's yours.